In this No Man's Sky video, I'm going to give you the location of a Stasis device farm, which will give you over 300 million per visit, and if you visit the base locations every day for a couple of weeks, you will max out your units. But the first thing you should do is visit the anomaly. Head to the back of the anomaly where the kiosks are, and you want the one in the middle on the right. And if you've got enough nanites, purchase everything that's in this window here. But if you don't have enough nanites, don't worry, I've got you covered. These two planets is where the Stasis farm bases are, but the first planet we're going to visit is this caustic nightmare. And if you're going to build a base to take advantage of this location, this is the planet to do it on, as it's quite straightforward to build a nanite farm, but I'll come to that at the end of the video, because first I want to demonstrate how a nanite farm works. You have a set of eggs sitting outside, shoot them first, and if you can, pick up the lava cores. This will ensure all the monstrosities spawn outside the base, so when you're inside the base you can start collecting all the lava cores. Even when the monstrosities spit at you, because you're inside a base, you're safe. But if you accidentally get them to spawn inside the base, they very rarely will cause damage, so just reload. And when you've collected all the eggs, you'll have 15 lava cores, which will give you 1250 nanites. If you still need more nanites, pirate space stations also have them for sale. But as this is a caustic nightmare world, it will have worms, so you can have a little fight with them. They'll give you nanites as well. But before visiting this place, remember to turn multiplayer off. Unfortunately, it takes a week for the nanite bases to reset. So like I said earlier, if you're going to come here, it's good to build your own nanite base as well. And if everyone who visits builds a nanite base, well, nanites won't be an issue anymore. As you can see right now, here's the portal code, it's in Euclid in normal mode, and here's the planet location if you need it. On to the most important part of this video, the Stasis farm. As you can see, the first base is really close to the portal, so that's going to be convenient if you come to this planet. This base has 20,000 paraphernalia, 20,000 oxygen, and of course 42,000 nitrogen. You'll need to spend a little bit of time arranging everything, as you want to keep 11,000 nitrogen and half of your paraphernalia, so put them to the bottom like I have, and split your remaining paraphernalia into two batches of roughly 5,000 each. The two stacks of 5,000 paraphernalia, you want to convert it into ferrite dust. Of course this will take quite some time, but if you've got lots of ferrite dust you don't have to worry about this step. And the same is true for the oxygen, as the entire stack of oxygen is used to turn into carbon, which eventually you'll turn into concentrated carbon. So if you've got plenty of concentrated carbon, you don't have to worry about this step neither. But you will want to convert the 31,000 of the nitrogen into sulphurine. So let's convert the first three large stacks. Yes, it's going to take 20 minutes for each stack, but if you've got plenty of concentrated carbon and ferrite dust, you can reduce that time by half by splitting the nitrogen into smaller stacks. But for me at this stage, I've just got 1,000 nitrogen left to convert, and of course the stuff I've kept aside. I've also added a status base C with sulphurine and phosphorus. So with this addition, it's going to make the process even faster. On a side note, when you've visited this base a few times, remember it's every 24 hours, you'll find that your visits are going to be a lot shorter, because the way I've structured this base, after a few visits, the only thing you'll really have to worry about is the gases and the plants, as these are all the things that I've gathered and refined after 3 visits, and after creating 40 status devices. So from this point it's only going to take me 10 minutes to get 20 status devices. So let's make a save, carry on refining, converting oxygen into carbon. Of course, converting carbon into concentrated carbon. My 3 stacks of nitrogen I've converted into sulphurine, and as you probably noticed is a 1:3 ratio. I've still got my 11,000 nitrogen at the bottom, but I've got 1,000 stacks still to do. So let's refine that 1,000 stack of nitrogen. That's my last bit of sulphurine done. I've still got a little bit of condensed carbon still to make. But that's the last of my ferrite dust. And this is what you should have after you've refined everything. And remember, after your first couple of visits you're going to have a lot of excess, so that will save you a lot of time later. So it's now time to go to Stasis Device Base B. Like the previous base, this base will require a lot of refining the first couple of visits, but the first stack we have is 20,000 dioxide. 20,000 cobalt and 15,000 radon. We'll put the radon to one side, keep a stack of dioxide to one side as well, and then break down the rest into manageable stacks. On a side note, I added 2 more additional refiners to this base after I shot this video. Let's refine the cobalt into ionized cobalt. Of course we're going to convert all the cobalt into ionized cobalt, but with those additional refiners it's going to be a lot quicker than it is for me. And with the 2 stacks of 5,000 dioxide, add some ferrite dust, and that will refine into phosphorus. Of course, like the previous base, we're actually creating more than we actually need, meaning in future visits it's going to take no time at all to create these Stasis devices. That's phosphorus done, let's collect it. Of course there's plenty of ferrite dust left over, that'll be useful for the next time I come and visit and create more Stasis devices. That's the last of the ionized cobalt, and this is everything you should have at this stage after doing all that refining. So let's collect all the plants from the 2 biodomes. Oh, also at the end of this video I'll have a breakdown of everything required to build your own Stasis farms, but these are all the plants you'll get from the 2 biodomes. Now to craft the Stasis device, click on an empty slot, select the Stasis device, and you'll notice at the bottom it says view crafting steps, that's the one you want. Which means you can craft all the elements inside this window, which is a fantastic feature that I've added, as you can complete all the steps in one window. And I know it's quite difficult to see what I'm doing right now, so I'm going to zoom in. And as you can see how many you're actually crafting, which is quite important because certain items use the same materials, so you want to make sure you only craft 20 of each item, as you might end up using up ingredients for another part, so make sure you only do 20 of each item except for glass. You need to craft 100 glass. So take your time at the glass part, but really you should take your time in all of it, to be honest. Okay, I'm going to let you watch me craft everything else in this speedy up footage, so you can see how I work through each of the steps. When it comes to crafting your first Stasis device, it will boot you into your exosuit menu, and from there you can finish crafting the final 19 Stasis devices. And for the excess, put it all in the storage container that I've provided. You may notice there's quite a lot of cactus flesh, there's a good reason for that. Cactus flesh is fantastic for converting into carbon. It takes less time than oxygen and it has a fantastic yield. But before showing you the location, also an overview about how to build a Stasis farm, and all the materials required to build one as well, let's go to a space station and sell this stack of Stasis devices to a trader who flies in. It's also a good idea to get in and out of your ship to make a save at this point. Remember, it's always better to sell to a trader who flies in than the galactic terminal, because that will crash the economy. But here's the portal address for the 2 base locations. They're both in Euclid in normal mode, but I'm sure you'll be able to see them in other modes except for permadeath. And this is the planet location for the second base that's not at the portal. And if you are going to put a base here, like I said earlier, create a nanite base. It's quite straightforward, just have one batch of eggs sitting outside. For the rest of the batches, just cover them in square or circle rooms. The only difficult bit is making sure the first room is all nicely lined up, and I use the glass corridors to work out the distances. As you can see, for the 2 square buildings there's a door between them rather than the corridor because there's no space. Or my start point was where the red building is. This is a quick overview of all the mined materials and what I did with it, but the most important thing to know about creating the Stasis device farm is what plants are used. So as you can see here, cactus flesh, it was 4 rows of 15, that's 60 plants in total. Frost crystals, it was 8 rows of 15, 120 plants. And then 6 rows of 15, 4 rows of 15 and so on. And to create the power and the mining locations, I did a method that I've shown in a previous video that you will find in the description below. But for something like the nitrogen, I just used the extractors in the circle. There's 2 rows of extractors there, but it might be worth putting the storage devices in the centre, like this mining extractor point that I'm showing you right now. But as this was the dioxide, I only needed 1 circle this time. And And to have all the plants in 2 biodomes, you'll also find that video in the description below as well. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, hit that like and subscribe button, and the bell thingy. And of course, thank you for watching. See you all later.